Hey, do you want to come over and make a pot of tea, bring your favorite crystals? We could talk about our birth charts, spirits, the latest house spells we've been doing. Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm that witch next door. All right. Hello. Happy Friday. Welcome, neighbor, to another episode of That Witch podcast. It is that time, once again, of the month. It's time for another new moon, which means it's time for another lovely, sultry shadow chats with my wonderful co-host, Ashley. How are you doing, my dear?
Hi. I am doing really, really good. I'm
Good.
energized.
Yay. You just had your Sagittarius solar return. Are you in the pocket of Sag magic right now?
I think that might be what's going on. I don't know. I'm pensive. I'm in a bucket of gratitude. I'm feeling really explorative with my business and my relationships. I'm thankful. 33 was beautiful. I feel like I'm hitting this benchmark, 34 is officially mid 30s. And it's just I'm also excited to see what's next.
Yes.
Life has been so exciting lately. So what's happening next?
That is quintessential Sagittarius. What's next? Next adventure, please. Where are we going? That was fun.
Where are we going?
Let's do it again. It's Sagittarius is that energy that never gets adventure fatigue or travel fatigue.
Yeah.
They're just ready for the next thing. And not even in an annoying way. In a really Sag inspires that and evokes that feeling in everyone around them, I think. I welcome that
never
energy.
Scared.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, for sure.
I'm ready.
So let's start out so that everyone can check their chart if they like to. So we are getting into the Sagittarius New Moon, which is coming up this Tuesday, 12/12, which I just was
portal, baby.
I like that a lot. 12 being
portal.
This number of endings and beginnings, 12th house, unconscious, the unseen, plus it's 12/12 and it's a new moon. So it's definitely that unconscious. So this new moon in Sag is happening at 20 degrees of Sagittarius on Tuesday the 12th at 6:32 p.m. Eastern time is when this is going to be exact. Now, my first question for you, Ash, is that earlier that day, the moon in Sagittarius, before coming together and merging with the sun, is going to form a trine with Chiron retrograde in Aries right now. And I find that we get really, really, I think that most people make a point, most astrologers that are really trying to learn their chart, make a point to learn about their Chiron. How would you advise people to read and look at current, how do we work with current Chiron versus our natal?
God. Well, this is why I did a heavy sigh, because I feel like I've had so many conversations about current Chiron over the last year of 2023. This Chiron in Aries, Chiron retrograde in Aries. We are collectively working through issues around leadership. Can I say it louder for the people in the back? There are so many holes and problems with leadership right now. And the collective is really starting to get it and really starting to do something about it and really starting to understand that the way that we view our world leaders and the way that we view our community leaders and our religious leaders and our spiritual leaders, it's all being flipped on its head right now. And I'm glad, because this is how we create this new earth that we love to talk about, right? This idea of new earth and what that means. And I think in order to really embody what new earth means, we first have to start looking at leadership and where it is ineffective.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that Chiron and Aries can get, it has the passion that is needed to address exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
Aries being this, like, other than Aquarius, Aries is the other ultimate fighter of the underdog and the individual.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very much so.
Aries is vicious.
Yes. And sometimes that's exactly where I wanted to go with this. Sometimes we lean a little more into the vindication part versus the actual progress and growth that we're looking for.
I would agree.
I would think this is where a new moon in Sag forming a trine could be very, very beneficial. And kind of bringing some of that ability to zoom out to a wider perspective that Aries is not a pro about.
Right. And, you know, like, out of the 3 fire signs, Sag has this je ne sais quoi, this, like, maturity with that fire energy that Aries, I was going to say that Aries wants to have, but I don't think so. I don't think Aries gives a fuck. And I think that's why Sag needs to come in and can be like, hey, babe, there's more than one way to get to gold, you know? But you don't have to be so. Yes. And I would agree with you. And I think it's a beautiful new moon to have as we also close out the year and come into next year, still working with Chiron and Aries themes.
Absolutely.
You know?
Oh, we're smack dab in the middle of that journey.
In the middle of it.
Yeah, Chiron's going to be there for a minute.
A hot second. And so it does make me wonder, speaking of what's next, what is next when we're dealing with the wounded healer in such a very visceral sign, you know, for so long. And we've been watching that play out in a lot of different ways on the collective and on the individual level.
Absolutely. I think that Aries Chiron opens us up for some truth that's always been there, but has been being overlooked for way too long. But, and this is a big but, as we move into and as we usher in, we're part of the ushering in of the age of Aquarius. It's not about it happening to us. We're a part of that happening. And I think a major part of that happening is the ability to see, acknowledge, and honor the differences that we all have. And Aries can be a little too my team versus your team.
For sure.
And so I think that as we move through Aries and Chiron, this cycle, I think that we are given opportunities like this Sag New Moon that that bring us this opportunity to be like, hey, don't lose that grit, don't lose that fight.
Right.
And life's more complex and meant to be more complex than I win, you lose. Very, very much so. So when it comes to Sagittarius, in the new moon phase, elaborate a little bit for us on what this does look like as the last new moon of the year.
I love that this is the last new moon of the year. You know, Sagittarius energy is Jupiter ruled. We're talking about expansion. We're talking about growth. We're talking about having faith and being able to grow and having faith in what it is we're doing and where it is we're going and reaching our goals, right? Luck, money, right? Jupiter is notorious for bringing in luck and luck with money and all of that. And so, as this being the last new moon of the year, new moon in Sagittarius, this is a beautiful, beautiful space for us to really lay down the groundwork for what it is we fucking want. And like, not just what we want, but what we deserve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And saying it out loud and acknowledging it, you know, like, what do you deserve? Even if it feels silly, like, definitely say it then. Because there is this goofy energy that Sagittarius brings and that Jupiter brings as well, where we can also like have fun and be okay with having fun and not taking ourselves too seriously and letting go of some of the shadow work even, because I feel like there's this very like serious and dark connotation with shadow work. And what if we did a different twang on it, right? Like, what if the goal was to make 100K next year and you're like, oh my God, I barely made 30K. But what if you just said that was the goal because you deserve it, you know? And we just let it go, you know, and allow us to build space for what comes in to 2024.
Oh, I love that. And you know what image that brought up for me, which is so funny. So I thought about that transition from the classroom energy from high school academics into college, and like the difference between a high school teacher and a lower level educator and a higher level educator. So I'm specifically thinking of that energy of high school, like you have to sit in this chair, they're all in a row, and you're here from this time to this time, and you turn this in, and so rigid and structured.
Very much so.
College professors are like this, but many, if not like most, are just so many of them. It's this very abstract, philosophical approach to teaching, right? And like they come in with their sleeves rolled up. Yeah, they sit on their desk.
They're like, I had this one professor, he was my anthropology professor. His name was Jethro.
Anthropology, perfect example.
Anthro, big ass hat, long ass beard, and he was filled with this. I wish I would have gotten his sign. I would bet money that he was an Aquarius.
I knew you were going to say Aquarius.
That vibe. Oh my God. But I totally agree with you that college professor vibe is so much more abstract. I took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
Because this still, we lay back a little bit in college. And we put some more trust and responsibility in the student's hand finally. And we're like, listen, like if you really want to be here, you'll show up and you'll do it. I'm not going to chase you. I'm not going to force your hand to the paper. Like, if you really want this, you're going to be the one to do it. I think this might be a good attitude to approach your end of year and New Year goals with.
Oh my God, yeah.
Where there's intention there. Like, think about how passionate your college professors were about their subject.
Seriously, I totally agree with you. I think we are getting to a point where it's time to do, you know, where's the goal? Where are we going? And how are we getting there? Instead of just kind of letting things live up in the ethers here. And this speaks to anybody with a goal in mind or something that they have been thinking about doing for a long time, whether it's building the business or buying the house or losing the weight or having the kid or finding love, whatever the fuck it is. But like, can we just like take inspired action steps to do it? And I think, and if I were to describe Sagittarius in a few words, it would be one who takes inspired action. You know, Sagittarius is very much a doer, you know, a lot like Aries, but in a different way. Sag will make sure they're doing for a reason, where Aries is like, let's blow it up, you know? And Sag is like, hold on, let's light a match first. And so, you know, I just think it's time that we really kind of practice what we preach in a way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love the imagery that you bring up for Sagittarius being Jupiter ruled end of year. This is very New Year's Eve glam in so many ways. It makes so much sense. the golds, the metallics,
Yeah.
the sparkle and the shine, because all of these things refract light, and they make us like light up. It catches our attention. These are the things that inspiration do for us. And I think that when it comes to the shadowy parts or the shadows that can come up with this new moon, it would be what is dulling that, and where are you dulling that for yourself? What are you
Where
saying?
are you blocking your blessing?
Yes. Where are you blocking your blessing? I love that.
I mean, Jupiter is the planet of blessings, right?
Exactly. You know how we're all talking about this empowered no, and I'm very much a proponent of an empowered no. And Sag knows how to say no.
Yeah.
But Sag also says more inspired yeses than probably anybody else in the zodiac.
I would agree. Risk takers for sure. Yeah.
Definitely. And where are your no's actually empowered, and where are they rooted in fear and insecurity? And
Seriously. I am so done with moving out of fear. And I would say I'm probably somebody who doesn't really move out of fear a whole lot, but there are totally times that I do. And this is what I like to teach. And I think this is what we teach through the work that we do, is helping people to get rid of all of this conditioning and all of these limiting beliefs that have been like bestowed upon us about how like we must move out of fear. I mean, God fearing. Don't even get me started on the goddamn patriarchy and what it has really done to how we make decisions and choices and how we move in life. What if we just said, I'm done with moving out of fear in 2024? Like, if I'm going to say no, it's going to come from an empowered place, not from a place of fear or lack or even desperation. You know, how drastically different and even more happy could your life be by the end of 2024 if you just made yourself that promise on this new moon in Sagittarius?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. This is a great time. Like, we just did the Scorpio new moon thing. I don't honestly recommend moving into the end of the year from a place of over self-criticism. And I think we're kind of guided and nudged to do that in a lot of ways because of the New Year resolution talk. But what if instead this year, when you're reflecting about this past year and moving into next year, what if you ask yourself some inspired questions?
That's it.
That evoke these different, new, open-ended responses instead of, oh, well, I meant to do this and I didn't get to do. Like, haven't we done that enough this year?
Yeah, you got really expansive with your own internal soul journey. Like, what happens then? Instead of making all these New Year's resolutions, I don't really know how I feel about the resolutions. To each his own. I just feel like if you got a goal, boo, you get to the goal. Don't wait till the start of the year to do it.
Just I totally agree. That's my only issue is with this hard and fast date, like,
it doesn't work.
No, it never works. You're talking to two people who have changed lifelong habits, multiple of them,
yeah.
And they do not, and by the way, I'm sure you have, I've done the on this day, tomorrow, this weekend. Oh my God,
yeah.
We've all made
tomorrow.
It never works.
I'm going to start on Monday.
If you don't start today, somehow you're not fucking starting tomorrow.
And if you fall off the wagon, you just get right back the fuck up.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And that's the thing. I love that you brought up that point, though. Like, both of us have broken down lifelong fucking habits that we were sick of having. And if anybody is educated enough to speak on this sort of stuff, it is us. And I get the method behind the madness of the New Year's resolution. But I think what we're both saying here is if you really desire to create change that is effective, it's not about a New Year's resolution. And I think the one thing that has been proven to not work is putting too much on our plates too quickly.
Yes.
Like, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. We want to do all these things and we get irritated with ourselves when we don't follow through with those things. And it becomes this horrible negative feedback loop on why we're not doing the things. And then we become that horrible critic and we spiral back into what the thing it was that we didn't want to do. I see it all the time. I'm sure you see it all the time. We've experienced it. And so maybe just on this new moon in Sag, we decide to do things a little differently. We decide to pivot. Sag is great at pivoting.
We pivot, we make steps toward the change, and we understand that we're new at it and it's not going to be perfect and we're going to have slip backs.
Exactly.
This is
and
where
we show ourselves love.
Exactly. This is where the laid back nature of Sag comes in. Sag doesn't get wrapped up in perfectionism. And by the way, that's why they made 10 moves while you were still sitting there criticizing the first move you still haven't made.
It's so true. You can't get wrapped up in perfectionism. And I get wanting to produce quality. We can produce quality work. We can find quality lovers.
Sag
we can
is
make
still the
quality
sage.
moves.
Yes.
Exactly. Sag is still the
There's still
sage.
refinement. I agree.
Right.
Absolutely.
But we can't get wrapped up in it. You'll freeze in the perfectionism. You'll get caught up and then you won't execute because you're looking for something wrong. And it honestly, it really comes down to it being fear-based and maybe even a little bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, what if I'm not accepted this way? What if nobody likes me this way? What if it doesn't work this way? What if my mom was right? You had a toxic mother who always called you shit. You know what I mean? All of these weird things start coming in and then you just don't make a move.
Exactly.
And that's not what we want to do here.
Exactly. Instead of I made this, or looking back and I did that wrong, I shouldn't have done that, or I should have done this, X, Y, or Z. Sag will reflect on what can be improved and say, okay, I'm going to do that next time. It has nothing to do with harping on and consuming ourselves and dwelling in the past of the mistake itself. And this is why I think this is where that flaming arrow comes in for me big time, because the arrow doesn't have time to like stop and turn around and obsess over where it came from and how it got there. No, it's just gonna keep going. It doesn't worry so much about the path so much as it does about, I don't know, but this is where the guiding flame is going.
Right.
And so that's where I'm following. Exactly.
It's so true.
I think that this is a really, really, for a new moon, right? This dark period of the lunar phase, I think that we're about to enter into winter solstice. We're about to enter into the dark part of the year.
Yes, we are.
Let
Pastor Mama gonna go sleep.
And this is a much needed time for some rest, some introspection, some inner work. And when I say inner work, I mean literally doing the work that is done that no one sees. Not just the inner picking and criticism. Because again, I'm talking about like what you and I were talking about before the show. We were talking about being deep in the belly of creation. And this is a very Sagittarian concept. When it's time to, Sag balances, I think, beautifully between interacting and connecting with others and knowing when there is work that needs to be done, and it does that solo part of that work very, very much so. I think that there's a lot of light to be tapped into, honestly, during this new moon.
I mean, Sag is a lighthearted sign. I always say that Santa Claus was a Sag. Like if Santa Claus were a real boy, I think Santa Claus would be a Sag. You know, sometimes we can't, like, we just have to laugh
Yes.
You know, we can't get caught up in like the nuances of this, that, and the third. We have to find the fun. We have to find the light energy. We have to find the balance and get rid of that inner critic. And I think Sag season is here to do that. There's a reason why Sag season comes after Scorpio season, right?
Exactly.
You know, we're in this dark phase
and before
then we lighten the mood, right? And before Cap. And then after that, like Cap brings us into this new year.
Exactly.
According to our calendar. But you know what I mean? And so there's a reason why the astrological wheel is made the way that it is.
Yep.
And I think that's important to highlight as we've got baby astrologers and baby witches really learning astrology, that there's a reason why Sag is where Sag is, and sandwiched in between this very hard working goat and this very dark ethereal scorpion, right? There's a reason why we have to find some light amidst all that somewhat rigid energy. I mean, one could argue that Scorpio and Cap are both kind of on the rigid side.
Be a very safe argument. Yes, 100% valid.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so we kind of have to lighten the mood a little bit.
Yes.
So how can you lighten the mood a little bit when it comes to your goals and creation and coming into next year and all of that?
I love
Not
this
taking yourself too
because
serious.
the next day, Mercury stations retrograde in Cap, but will go back into Sag. And this is the beautiful cosmic sense of humor of astrology. Stations direct on the 1st of the calendar year, on January 1st. Obviously, we'll still be in post-retro shade after that for a couple of weeks. But I love the conversation that we're having specifically because I think that there is already this predisposition to excessive criticism and perfectionism, which, by the way, is setting you up for failure.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go into retrograde. And I could see a lot of people who are already burning the candle at both ends and just harping on themselves go into a retrograde period with that just like the steam's about to blow, and the retrograde pushed them over the edge. And instead, this is what I love about shadow chats and what I love about astrology and talking about this and looking at the transits. Because what if instead you go into Mercury retrograde at the end of the year and know, all right, I need to not take myself so fucking seriously these last couple of weeks.
I gotta chill the fuck out.
Yes.
I gotta laugh when my tech is acting like a fucking nut.
Thank you.
Yes. You know, which my tech is already starting to, but part of it is because
we're already getting little flare-ups.
We're already getting little flare-ups. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
We're definitely getting the flare-ups. And I think that this is this particular Mercury retrograde, because again, it will start in Capricorn, but dip back into Mercury in Sagittarius during the cycle. I really do think that this is a time to, when you worked really hard on that post or that course or that program that you put out and you see this big fat typo in there, or something got fucked up with the Zoom link and you feel like, I can't believe this is happening. This is so embarrassing.
Right.
I think this is an opportunity to look around and go like, but did we die? No. We got through a mile. Like every single mistake is a milestone in your life and your business.
Like you posted it. I just sometimes want to shake people because it's all about perspective.
That was the point.
Yeah, I mean, like you pressed post, and for a lot of people who are working on visibility and stuff, that's a big fucking deal to even press post. Honor that. Honor yourself right there. I've had tons of typos in my shit. Am I happy about it? No. Like your girl's a master's degree. What the fuck? But you get over it. It is what it is.
You get over it. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's so true.
You get over it. The medicine that was intended to be delivered is still delivered. And if somebody is calling you out for a typo, they didn't understand the assignment because they're focused on the typo and not the medicine that you were trying to give.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
There's a difference
So,
between somebody who genuinely didn't give a shit about their work and it shows in their work
yes.
and normal, common human error mistakes.
Exactly. Or just like phone error mistakes. You know how the
Yeah,
phone will
no
like do
kidding.
weird shit? Exactly.
Yes.
It happens.
Sometimes, okay, so my most common one, and I did finally do this during a Mercury retrograde once. One of my most common and also my biggest, like, worst nightmare is when I'm saying in one sec, I saw that a sec ago, you type sex on accident, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest, like, please don't send that to the wrong person. Please don't, like, anyone but an awkward person. And I'm pretty sure it was my mother-in-law. And I was like, nah. But you...
Not anyone but an awkward person.
Meaning, like, the relationship to send that... I was like, oh, great, of all people that I sent that to. Of course, exactly. Yes.
My God,
I
too
really
funny.
do think that if we're honest with ourselves, our fears of, like, really micro, silly, minor things like that add up into these walls that we build.
I would agree.
And we live behind them for a long, long time. And this is one of those signs that gets us to, like, what's the phrase? It's about the journey, not the destination. You know what I mean? Like, it's,
that's exactly it.
Like,
Abram Hicks loves talking about that. And, you know, it feels super cliche, but it really is true. Actually, it really is true. Like, looking back on the journey of everything that you can accomplish when you really put your mind to something, there's something so goddamn gratifying about that.
mm-hmm.
The destination is cool, but the journey to get there and the person that you become, like, you literally morph into who you are becoming, that person that you dreamt about being when you're creating that person. It's like, bitch, I'm her. Like, when did that happen?
Yes.
You know?
Exactly.
And that's what I just think is so freaking rewarding and what I want everybody to feel. So let's make some goddamn goals and let's get there.
Let's make some goals. Let's get there. Let's be kind not only to ourselves, but each other in those little mistakes and things like that.
Yes.
I think that,
to one another.
Yeah, I agree.
More love, more love, more love, more love, more love, more love, more love.
Yeah.
There's so much hate in the world that it really is on us. Anybody listening to this podcast, I would consider you a spiritual individual. I think the spiritual community has more on our shoulders than we realize when it comes to spreading love.
Yes.
It's just, yeah.
Where can you show up in solidarity for somebody today? Like, one of my favorite things to do that I recommend to all of my clients, like, this is when I was and Ashley and I have talked about this, when I was starting out in business, and for those of you who are, like, in the middle of building a social following from scratch and how fucking hard that work is and how diligent you have to be about engagement and posting, even though your engagement is not very high, but you're constantly surrounded by people with super high engagement and all this stuff. When you come across people just trying and putting their shit out there and it doesn't have that many likes on it, or they post something to their story with a little slider or a button for you to fucking tap on or whatever, tap on the fucking button.
Just tap the button.
Tap the stupid button.
The button.
It costs $0 for your thumb to tap the fucking button. Save. Do you know what I have? This is my biggest Sagittarius tip that I'll leave with everybody with. I have a whole board on my Instagram called support. I have it on both my accounts, my personal secret hidden cave account and my
I know about
account. Yeah, a very small portion of the world does. It's hilarious. On both of those. I love that you have it. I know. It's the most Scorpio thing ever. Literally. I know. Ashley didn't even know. I was like, by the way, I followed you on my personal account. She's like, I didn't even know you had that. I'm like, yeah, that's literally.
Oh, it's so funny.
So I have a board on both of them called support. And it's not in a mean way, but it's where I put stuff that I have no intention of ever going and, like, looking at ever again. It has nothing to do with that. But it's someone who I like their content, who is working hard and doing their best and could use the fucking save for their algorithm.
I love that.
I just tap the little bookmark button, and when it says, what board do you want to save this to? I put it on the support board so that it all like clogs up in that one board. And then, I have like other little places where I save things. But this is share somebody's post to your stories and give them a shout out. Leave a comment.
Sharing saves and comments mean way more than a double tap, friends.
Way more.
They really do.
Way more. And this is, if we all, especially as spiritual entrepreneurs, just did this for each other, each of us, like a handful of times a day, do you know how helpful that would be? How much that would ripple out?
You know how many people would find our work that fucking need it? That have been waiting for it?
Exactly. Show a little fucking solidarity. Be somebody's cheerleader instead of their fucking critique this week.
And if you do find yourself critiquing people often, you must ask yourself why. And Negative Nancy's, I'm talking to you. If you find yourself in a space, because we all know that person, or you are that person, where you are constantly like critiquing, whether it's somebody on the TV, somebody online, your partner even, where you just are always like nitpicking or looking at the bad. What is happening inside? New Moon in Sagittarius, like go inward. Sag is known as the deep thinker, right? Very, very deep thinker, the philosopher. If you are in that sort of headspace, ask yourself some of those hard questions about what is going on and why you feel the need to do that. And that's some real talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If the judgments and the projections are lashing out right now, that in and of itself is something calling out to you within you to be looked at.
Even if you're not saying them out loud, but they're in your head.
Yeah. Especially the harsher they are, and on the most unfounded grounds. And y'all, I'm not above this. I go into these cycles myself where I notice and I'm like, what exactly is bothering me to this level about this thing?
Exactly. I've had to have these hard conversations with myself too. Like, what is bothering me to this level about this thing, this person, this event, whatever it is? Why am I so fucking perturbed right now?
Yes.
And that is where the work is. That's
where the work
soul
is.
work,
That's what shadow work is. Most people are like, I still don't understand what it is. I still don't understand what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, it's not about that. It's not about a doing and a step-by-step and a ritual. I mean, you can do all those things.
You can do that.
Honestly, what it is it's the practice of self-reflection. And it takes
and self-awareness,
practice. It doesn't come to you naturally. Ashley and I had to build this habit to stop and pause. Oh, yeah, fucking years. Because our brain is hardwired not to look at those things so it can stay comfortable. It doesn't want to make more neuro pathways.
Nope.
And so we stay doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Because it's easy and it's comfortable. Exactly what you said.
Exactly. But the practice of... Most people hate that my advice to 90% of situations is, did you pause? Did you take a deep breath? Did you cleanse your energy and ground for a second before you said anything?
Before you reacted or responded?
Yeah. I know that's not the sexy answer. I get that. I understand that's not the flashy shortcut either, but I do promise you that doing that, that's what builds up into accountability. And that ultimately is how you're able to affect change in your life and how you are able to manifest your goals. It really is. It's little teeny tiny micro decisions and behaviors like that. Instead of doing the same thing I've always done, I'm going to stop because I've been complaining lately about how I do this all the time and how I'm tired of doing this all the time. So maybe this one time I'm not going to fucking do that thing. I'm going to sit here for a second and think about it. Then do it again after that if you want, but at least take the step to stop and think about it.
Yes. And that's really what it is. because creating new neural pathways does take time. So you may stop and think about the action, but still do the action for a hot minute before you change the action.
Agreed.
But at least now you're stopping and you're thinking about the action.
Exactly.
And that's where change really comes into play.
It's so true. It's so true. Read a million different self-help, habit change books. They're going to talk to you about mindfulness practices.
Yeah.
Little teeny tiny exercises that just get you out of the cycle and looking at things different. And this is quintessential Sagittarius, being that philosopher, higher education, traveler to new distances, new horizons. We don't get to any of those things by doing the same thing over and over and over.
Oh, hell no.
Again.
Not even a little bit. We got to change it up. We got to do shit that scares us. That's
so true. This was such a good, inspiring one, but I feel like with really good concrete tips here.
I think so too. At the end of the day, what I love to always say is my success is your success. Your success is mine. Like, we really are mirrors of one another. So the more of us that are living our best lives, the better for the collective as a whole.
Exactly.
And that's what's true. That is what is fundamentally true. The more of us that are happy, the better.
Exactly.
I know.
It really does radiate out. It really does. Do it for like 2 weeks and you'll already see it start to ripple out. The proof will be there every single time.
So true.
I know. Ash, before we go, great convo. Very inspiring today. Where can everyone find you, follow you, support you? When is our next Astrology After Dark episode?
Yes. Astrology After Dark has been so fucking fun.
I know.
If y'all have not listened, go listen to it. It's been so fun. Our next victim for Astrology After Dark, I might as well announce it since we're talking about it here. We're going to do Jim Carrey, guys.
Thanks for the suggestion, by the way.
Yes, we got that suggestion.
Coming. Yes.
Please keep them coming. Please do. Jim Carrey has touched all of our hearts, especially us millennials. I think like we all kind of grew up on Jim Carrey in some way, shape, or form. And he's a super spiritual guy with a lot to say. What's so funny is like my life right now is kind of like the Truman Show. I just put that together. That's weird.
Oh my God. And what's funny is while we were talking earlier, I almost brought up the example of the movie Yes Man from not saying no all the time, which is so funny. Jim Carrey's spirit's already with us.
Jim Carrey is here. He is here and ready to play. As you may or may not know, the last day of the month, so New Year's Eve, that episode will be dropping for you guys. You can find me on Instagram at Ashley Michelle 90 Day, TikTok, Starseed Shadows. The Goddess Complex is my podcast. We're going to figure out this whole name situation, guys. Just hang out with me for a little bit while we figure it out, okay? And that's where you can find me. And
make sure you're on Ashley's email list. It's an excellent place to be, really to stay up to date, no matter what. Apply to work with her, jump in on her next program. Like, the email list is an excellent place to be.
That's the spot to be. Sure. I'll make sure that the link is in your show notes. But get on the email list. We always drop nuggets of love over there. So
absolutely. I love your email list. It's a good one. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's another thing. My friends, I subscribe to their emails and I open them. It helps.
I open my friends' emails too.
It helps a little every bit.
The click rates. The click rates help. We need those click rates, honey.
I love this Sag magic coming through.
Sag
medicine. So good. Thanks for being here today, Ash. This was so needed. This was a needed one. It was needed for us to talk about, and I can definitely tell it's what everyone needs to hear right now, too.
For sure.
Neighbor, thank you for spending your day with us and your time. We appreciate it today and every day. I hope that all of you have a beautiful weekend, an absolutely amazing Sagittarius New Moon. Make sure that, of course, you stay safe. Let yourself have some fucking fun. and stay magical out there. Did you get something valuable out of today's show? Here's how you can help continue to grow our magic. First, you can head over to Apple or Spotify and leave a 5-star rating and review. You can also share a shout out on your social media page and make sure you tag me at thatwitch.nextdoor. And of course, you can just tell a friend that you think would enjoy the show and send them a link to the episode. Thank you so much, neighbor, for your support. I'll see you next time.